I'm reading Brian Greene's Until the End of Time, and I wanted to share a couple of quotes that were interesting to me. This is why I question everything regardless of who the author is. Just because an author has credentials and they present an idea doesn't mean you have to accept all of their conclusions at face value. Sometimes the author contradicts themselves in their own book, blinded perhaps by their own biases. So in his book, Greene states that our universe is moving from a state of low entropy to high entropy, or from a state of order to disorder. However, everything we see right now is highly ordered, from DNA to atoms to organisms. None of this organization theoretically existed billions of years ago. So why does this world exist, almost in violation of the second law of thermodynamics? I'm going to read you these two quotes and I want you to think about it. And I'm going to paraphrase because it's a bit wordy. Quote 1. Let me underscore one way of thinking of entropy. You should expect to encounter high entropy states. High entropy states are easily configured, typical a dime a dozen. By contrast, if you encounter a low entropy state, it should command your attention. Such configurations are rare and unusual. If you step out of a shower and you find the steam all clustered up in a perfect cube, that is a low entropy state and extremely unusual. So unusual that were you to encounter such a configuration, you should be extremely skeptical of the explanation that you've simply come upon one of those unlikely things that occasionally happens. You should seek an explanation beyond mere chance for any low entropy configurations you encounter. Okay, he goes on to say, low entropy configurations should be viewed as a clue that powerful organizing influences may be responsible for the order you've encountered. Basically, he's saying that if you see something that is in a state of low entropy or order, an organizing influence may be responsible for the order. He also says, do not accept the explanation that it just happened by mere chance as an explanation. But then in the very next chapter, he does just that. So he states that he's constantly asked that if the second law of thermodynamics burdens the universe with the relentless increase in disorder, how can nature so readily produce exquisitely configured, highly ordered structures like atoms and molecules and the human mind? If the universe began with an explosion, how could that fiery unfolding have given birth to all the organization that we see now? The question is posed that could all of this be a result of an intelligent design? He basically says no and then proceeds to explain how the Big Bang was triggered by an astounding coincidence. And I quote, some researchers state that if you wait long enough, even the most unlikeliest of things will eventually happen. You shake 100 pennies enough times and eventually they'll land upon all heads. A statistical fluke during prehistory resulting in greater order and thus lower entropy triggered the Big Bang and thus brought everything into being. A tiny speck of space in prehistory finally made the statistically unlikely leap to low entropy, which then triggered the Big Bang. If you gotta use words like extraordinarily unlikely and statistical fluke and astounding coincidence, just Occam's razor it. We're in a simulation. You're a sim, just lean into it.